Ms. Cantu, I have 12 o'clock.
Okay, well, we can get started. We'll call the meeting to order. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is Lupe Costilla with us?
She didn't think she could because her husband had a medical procedure. She was
Okay,
going to try, but she.
okay. Miguel, are you on? Mr. Redondo? Well,
I'm here, Clem. Sorry. Yeah, I'm here.
okay, so, and I know that Margie showed up for a minute, so I'm sure she's around. We'll get started with 6 trustees present, and we've had nothing submitted for public forum, so we'll go straight into our agenda prep. Before we go any further, Margie has asked me to make an announcement regarding her nomination to be the 2020 delegate, and she did make it, and she appreciates everybody's support, and then we can move on from there. But she was very happy to have y'all support and your nomination most of all. Thank you. We can start now, Superintendent.
Madam President, members of the board, good to see all y'all. She should have won. She got robbed, but that's just my opinion. So you should be able to see the agenda. Item 4, the superintendent's report, we will probably, I will turn it over to Mr. Wozniak and also to Mr. Hubenak so they can give y'all an update from both the safety perspective and also from where we're at with technology and some other things as we go into then week 3. And then we'll follow that up later on. Item 5A, the Gear Up National National Recognition Week. The Gear Up team is going to do a quick presentation for the board on where they're at with some of the things we're doing with our students. Item 5B, Dr. Reese Mills will follow up kind of with the safety and the technology to talk about, give y'all an update on the district's asynchronous plan and the return to school plan that we will share with the community, just to give y'all a look at that. Item 6A is approval of minutes for regular scheduled board meeting on August 17th, 2020, the HR workshop held on August 24th, 2020, and the special call board meeting on September 14th, 2020. Item 7A, consider approval of budget amendments. I'll let Mr. Barton.
Yes, sir. Right now we only have one, and it's for our fine arts departments. They always allocate money to travel, and that puts it in a certain function. And they made that decision months ago. But obviously that travel is not going to happen for competitions this year. So they'd like to move that money into a function that they can use for instruction and some of the activities that will occur this year.
Item 7B, consider approval of resolution regarding extracurricular status of 4-H organization and approval of adjunct faculty. Mr. Doyle will bring that to y'all. We bring that every year. It's the Texas A&M University AgriLife Extension, I think, are the professors, but it's something that we bring yearly for y'all's approval. Item 7C, consider and possible action on the ranking of offers that submitted proposals for delinquent tax attorney and delegation of authority to the superintendent or his designee to negotiate a contract with the top ranked offerer. Mr. Barton.
Last year, the trustees had asked that we look at our professional services and make sure all those relationships are more recent. Some of them go back a considerable amount of time. We did one last year. This is the major one for this year. We've done an RFP. We've ranked it as a department, and we'll be bringing a recommendation to the trustees.
Item 7D, consider resolution to participate in joint election with Guadalupe County to be held on November 3rd, 2020.
This is just a lingering item. We brought trustees previously our contract with Guadalupe, but Guadalupe does a joint election contract with everyone that they're working with, and they waited a little bit longer because of the extended early voting to secure their voting sites and their employees. So they're sending it to us. It's just cleaning it up. It's nothing new.
Item 7E, consider approval of student code of conduct updates. Dr. Reese-Mills.
Yes, Ms. Pearson will bring this back to the board meeting. We went in and we made the requested change of students, not mandating that students have to be visible during their Zoom meetings. So we changed the wording on that. And so just the approval of the new updated handbook regarding remote instruction.
Item 7F, discussion and possible action regarding temporary pay increase for all hourly employees in the amount of $2 per hour effective September 31st, 2020 until discontinued by the Board of Trustees. That's Trustee Arredondo's item. Item 7G, consider approval of Reading Academy instructional coach. And I'll let Mrs. Dre talk about that real quick.
Good morning or afternoon, I guess. That item is, last year we had this position as a full-time grant-funded position. This year we will continue Reading Academies, and it is no longer a grant-funded position. However, it is accounted for in our early allotment, early education allotment. We simply did not put it as an allocation in the budget when presented to you originally, because we were working out the details of what that position would look like.
Item 7H, discussion and appointment of 2 San Marcos CISD representatives to the Core 4 Task Force. And Trustee Halsey, if you can kind of help me with this one. So we have the Core 4 committee, which President Cantu and myself sit on, and other members attend. But then within that, the city hired Dana Washington as the youth, I forgot her official title, Youth Services Director. And so then there's a working group that has some board members that would be represented on that committee. I think I got that right, on that committee. And
yeah,
so,
that's correct. It's just that this task force replaces the current City Commission on Children and Youth, because the partnership has changed into this partnership between the 4 different entities. The city felt it was appropriate that they dissolve the formal Commission on Youth and reconvene it under this guise, so that each of the 4 participating entities has equal representation. So this group will then be tasked with writing the bylaws for the new iteration of the old commission and figuring out how stakeholders will participate and representation, et cetera. So it's a lot of work.
I'd like to say that if anybody's interested in serving, that you should let me know so that we can consider their names, and we'll vote on this at the regular meeting. Any other
I
items?
think Trustee Halsey has a question.
Thanks. I just had a couple basically points of information that I would like reported out on, and they are, I'd just like to know the status of the equity audit and where that is and how we're proceeding, and if we've identified the people that will be doing that for us. Also, I'm interested in the report on the back to school opening plan for information about how we're going to be reporting COVID cases to the public. I know like Texas State has a dashboard that they're using that's separate from the county dashboard to update things. And I'm just wondering what our plan is for communicating that. And the other thing is, I know we talked at the last month's meeting about that we have transportation staff currently employed, and I think that they're primarily doing busing for athletics programs. So I just wanted to get an update on the transportation staff and how many bus routes that is and what it looks like, and then sort of what the transportation plan is envisioned for reopening. That's it.
I think Mr. Wozniak might be on the call, so hopefully he wrote all this down, because they also have been out, just to give them a transportation a shout out. They also have been They also been helping at the schools, distributing the technology and kind of working with the staff. And if you've been to one of the campuses, they don't let you get in without them checking your temperature. So they stopped and they ran me down at Miller and made me go back and do my temperature check. So they're doing their job. So we appreciate them. But he's on, I think he's on the call.
He's on right now?
Yes, I've got it. I've got it, Ms. Halsey.
Great, thanks. Also, last week I thought, it was a little crazy in different points, but it really, generally went really smoothly. I think it's just sort of the craziness of everybody trying to figure it out, but I think y'all did a great job. And I think teachers, technology, really, really, good job.
Speaking of shout outs and doing a good job, I want to thank the superintendent for the excellent job of letter writing and all the skills that it took to get the State Board of Education to veto that charter school that was trying to come into our area or into our community. I'm real glad that turned out like it did.
That was Nicole's ability to write, my ability to speak, and Andrew's ability to catch us so that we could get caught on tape. So it was kind of a team effort. But I think Trustee Arredondo has his hand raised up, Ms. Cantu.
I can't see him on my screen. Okay.
I need to speak too.
Yeah, so this goes back to Ms. Stray's comment, and I think this is something that relates to both Mr. Barton as well. I know we have several significant positions in the ISD that are grant funded, in particular kind of the gear up positions and coordinators throughout the ISD. I understand that right now we have a relationship with those entities, but I would like to see a plan that whenever those grant dollars end, that we have the resources on hand to continue funding those positions. So I don't know what that would look like, but that's a curiosity that I have.
Okay. Miss Hanson, you also had your hand up.
Yes, I also want to thank everybody that wrote in about the charter school. That was a good response. I just wanted to verify, are we going to have item 5C, the construction update? I didn't hear anything.
Yes, ma'am. I apologize. We do have a construction update.
Okay, great.
And thank you, Miss Hanson. I understand you also wrote a letter in support of the school district.
I
Thank you.
did. It was
Thank
last minute, but I'm hoping everything, it all worked out the way we needed it to.
Thank you for doing that. Anyone else have an item?
Well, just on the construction update, it would be useful if a representative of the contractor working at Miller could be available. We haven't heard from them in a while, and I have concerns.
Yes, sir. We'll make that happen.
And then process-wise, I'm curious on the raise for hourly employees. That item was on our agenda and failed 5-2. So I'm curious. I thought in our bylaws, someone from that had voted against would have to bring that item back, or there was some specific procedure of how we bring failed items back. And I understand this was a request by Mr. Arredondo. Were there other requesting trustees, or why is this back so soon?
So I can speak to requesting it again. I think this honestly was bore out of a conversation in executive session about a more palatable amount. And my understanding of the bylaws is that the exact same item couldn't be requested by a requesting trustee again. So like time and a half would be ineligible by someone who is on the losing side of that vote, but this is not time and a half. This is $2, but that's something for, I guess, Juan to weigh in on. At least that's the way that I was reading it, but I could be wrong.
Okay. So it's the same requesting trustees, but we think that it is allowed because it's seeking a different amount.
That's the way.
So will you be checking with Juan Cruz, or have you already checked with him?
These that was one of the items submitted to Mr. Cruz. And I don't know that he was actually saying, I agree or I approve. So I can go back and have another conversation with him. But the items that Mr. Arredondo had all came through Juan Cruz when he did the rewrite for the specific wording.
Okay, because my understanding of the bylaws is you couldn't request the same thing, and it had, if you're requesting to bring it back, had to be other trustees.
I'll call him as soon as we get done today.
Yeah, if you'll check on both those items, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, be glad to do that. Any other items or anything else that we need to discuss?
Well, Mr. Superintendent, on the reopening, the asynchronous that I believe Ruiz Mills is presenting, are we going to have dates and schedule a phased return within that?
Yes, sir, we do. Mr. Arredondo, not Mr. Arredondo, I'm sorry. Mr. Fernandez, can you pop up the document, please? This is the draft document that's actually taken from the TEA plan that we will be submitting. Basically, it's just an introduction of what we've done thus far. And as you go through it, it talks about the different options. Basically, we have the asynchronous plan, and then we have what in-person instruction would look like. As we go through it, we also have some student and parent and guardian expectations, and then what each campus would look like, whether at the elementary, secondary, and at the high school level, as far as what courses would look like and the available resources for our students. And we have highlighted here district counseling page because that is something Mr. Fernandez is working on with Ms. Chapman. And so they're working on putting that on the primary web page. As we continue on through this document, Andrew, if you can scroll to where it says in-person, face-to-face instruction, we actually have a section on that. Those are all of the dates that, right there, Andrew. We also have, prior to this, all of the dates of where we've provided communication to families and upcoming meetings or videos that Ms. Pearson has been doing with our community. But with the face-to-face in-person instruction, we have the reconsideration windows at the 4 bullets right there before every grading period. The first phase would be October the 5th. As of right now, based on the survey results that Mr. Fernandez has received, we have 40% of our families would like their students in school. So we're working with our leaders to determine what that would look like and what those transitions at the secondary level would look like as well. Now, based on October the 5th, if you recall the previous board meeting, the board did grant the waiver to go an additional 4 weeks if necessary, right, based on what the COVID rates were within San Marcos. Even if we abide by that and we don't have, we still operate in this remote fashion for an additional 4 weeks, the Texas Education Agency says that we must allow any student to receive on-campus instruction if the parents feel that is what is necessary for their students. So you have the waiver to extend. However, we still need to meet the needs of our families, and we also need to make sure that we are being responsible and making certain that we're following all of the guidelines and we have those in place for students to return. Andrew, can you scroll back down so I can show those reconsideration window dates? There they are right there. So we have the first one, August 5th through August the 25th was the first reconsideration window. We are asking for Andrew to go ahead and send another notification out, just in case we have parents that have changed their minds, either for or for keeping them at home. Plus, we're working with food service, child nutrition, and transportation to start looking at those routes, as well as working with our leaders on what the classes would look like. The second reconsideration would be October 19th through October 23rd, then December 14th through December 18th, and then March 8th through March 12th. We were discussing keeping it at 50% capacity for this first phase of October the 25th. So that's where we are. We have another meeting tomorrow with our principals, and then we should have this document revised even further prior to the board meeting, and we will publish it and send it to our community. As Mr. Fernandez goes on, we also have included the mitigation guidelines as well. And so this is something that we have worked on with our leaders and with Mr. Wozniak, just on prevention and mitigation with various scenarios and the expectations for screening of students and teachers, and also of community members who come into our buildings.
So do I understand then that the reconsideration window has closed as of the first 9 weeks? So any parent who opted for at-home instruction is stuck with that option through the conclusion of the first 9 weeks?
So that's how it was designed. However, we have been hearing from some parents, you know, if they want to opt out now or opt in. So Mr. Fernandez will be sending something out tomorrow, just as one final communication.
And
right, Mr. Fernandez?
Yeah, so we'll pretty much create one more reconsideration window. So if parents are not having a good experience with remote learning, we want to give them that option to come back in person at 50% capacity per campus.
And okay, that's good. And then what happens? I understood there were many parents, or there were a number of folks we did not hear from. What happens if someone just shows up and drops off a kid on October 5th? Do we send them back home? What does that look like?
We teach them. We'll find their class and we'll see where that class is as far as capacity, but we'll find a space for them.
And campuses are also reaching out. So that number is very small per campus. So for example, say we had 120 students that we couldn't get in contact with for a campus, their parent liaison's been reaching out daily to get in touch with everyone. So we'll have a better idea tomorrow as we're speaking with our principals.
Okay. And I had seen in AISD's phased reopening plan, they had specific grades kind of phased back in. We're not doing anything like that. We're just doing 50% of each class in each grade level?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that update.
Mr. Arredondo, did you have another item you needed to bring before the board?
No, ma'am, it's okay. I'm going to wait for that item.
Okay, thank you. I guess we have business. Ms. Wilson, were you speaking up?
No, I was going to move to adjourn if you're at that point.
Yes, I am. Thank you. I have a motion to adjourn.
Again.
Second? Did somebody second? No?
Yes, ma'am, I did. Miguel.
Arredondo.
All in favor?
Sure.
Do I have 6 hands up? I can't see but 3 board
Yes,
members.
ma'am.
Yes.
I think we got all of us.
Okay, thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Y'all have a good day, y'all.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey.